or collectively known as Haiku. Check them out after the show, not during, after.
Last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Mekin Maheshwari, the founder and CEO of Uthyam Learning Foundation, a non-profit in India focused on unlocking human potential and driving equitable growth. His leadership is defined by his deep-seated belief in human potential and his commitment to creating a positive impact at a scale through education, technology, and entrepreneurship.
Good evening, everyone. In my 6th grade, I had moved from a small town to the city of Jamshedpur. And at that point in time, my English was quite terrible. As a result, I got my first report card in the first term of my exams. And it read 3 Fs and a W, 3 Fs in red, and a W underlined, issuing me a warning that buck up, or this place may not be for you. This may not be the space that you're meant for. Well, fast forward, at that point in time, it felt like the system was ready to give up on me. And fast forward, I finished my engineering and happened to bag probably one of the highest paying jobs in campus. Went on to lead technology at a startup called Flipkart, and so on. So from most traditional parameters, I succeeded in life. But then, back then, to that 6th grade, is that W sign, is that warning, issued to a young boy willing to give up on the boy. That's the story of majority of kids in our country. The largest aspiration for youth in our country is to get a government job, which has selection rates of about 1%. There are exams which have selection rates of less than 1%. And just to give you some numbers, there were about 22 crore or 220 million kids who wrote exams to get a government job between the years 2014 and 22. So it by far is the largest youth aspiration. And what we really tell them through that experience is that, hey, you're not good enough. There are the Fs and the warnings issued to them because they don't make it. And it's by design. These are systems that less than 1% will actually make it through. If we think that the scene with non-government or private jobs is much better, I'd like for us to think again. Less than 7% of India's workforce is salaried. Sitting here, that may not feel like the reality, but we live in a world where very, very few people get good jobs, whose lives change. And we celebrate those few good jobs. We celebrate the success of the few without really caring about the failure of the many. And it's not really the failure of the many, it's the failure of the system that's designed to fail them. It's a system that tells them that, hey, you were not good enough, even though the system didn't probably do its part in figuring out what is it that it could have done before offering them low-skill jobs. It never paused to ask them, like, what were your strengths? What could you do better than the narrow views that the system imposes on them that it wants people to do well in? My name is Mekin Maheshwari. I'm here to talk about 6 unconscious biases that all of us hold. This was the first one, which is only few can succeed. We've believed in it, and we live it every day through our education system without challenging that why can't all succeed? Or why can't many succeed? The next ones, I might ruffle some feathers here, but doing well in academics is seen as a path to doing well in life. And it's an unconscious bias that all of us hold. It's a belief that we all believe very deeply in, that, hey, you have to do well in your academics. Uh, well, multiple organizations have talked about unemployability of graduates, that, hey, students who are graduating from good institutions are not ready for work. And if you go beyond work, because life's not just about work, their readiness for life, there aren't easy measures for, but what we hear and what we see around us is not very heartening. So are we, as an education system, through the academic focus that we do, really preparing our kids for work and for life? This belief leads to two specific issues. First is this issue that exams become extremely serious and important. They become like, this is the end of life. And unfortunately, that's a pun that I intend. Here is a post from Vineet Nair, who was a CEO of HCL Tech for 19 years, one of the largest IT companies in the world, trying to tell people that, hey, exams are not the end of life. It's okay if you don't do well in exams. Because we've heard of the challenges, the cost that students incur, the cost that parents incur when going through these. I'm the parent of a 10th grader today, and the anxiety that parents and students have to go through as we go through these processes are extremely painful. The other issue, and I'll come back to the exam piece, the other issue is that in the focus for academics, we've forgotten about what are things that actually enable young people to do well in life. There are life skills like communication, creativity, curiosity, collaboration, critical thinking that we are like, okay, those are good extracurriculars to have, if at all. Or entrepreneurial mindsets like independent thinking or experimentation or grit or self-awareness or Atmagyan, as like people in this land have called it, which is meant to be like, to know thyself is the pursuit of knowledge. And we've ignored those while focusing on academics. This focus on academics and exams leads to another challenge that we can't really trust kids to make decisions. We have to decide for them, right? That, hey, they are not capable of making these decisions. And hence, we will decide what should they study, when should they study it, when are they ready to be assessed, when should they take a leak, right? So it's a system that just doesn't trust kids and young people at all, giving them no choice. And then, when these same young people are out in the world, we are surprised when these young people are unable to make decisions or struggle with like, oh, like why are you not able to decide between these simple choices that life is offering you? Well, in our schools, we've had the opportunity to offer independent decision-making or practice for independent decision-making in very safe spaces. But unfortunately, we've built systems that leave students with very, very little choice. As a result, they wait for someone else to solve their problems. They don't own their own education. It's something that it's been thrust down their throats. So it's their parents who've made decisions, so it's their parents' accountability and responsibility. So instead of learning independence, accountability, and responsibility early in life, we have a lot of young people who are looking for jobs, who are looking for someone else to come and solve their problems, and looking to blame something that can take away their pains. The next belief, which is, hey, life will be set, that you don't really have to work or work hard if you clear a few exams. And we talked about this, the cost of mental health that some of the students have to incur in going through these experiences is heart-wrenching. Right? What this leads to is that exam prep today is a larger industry than education financially. Right? That there is more money to be made if you set up an exam prep institution than if you were to try and educate people. we're all in a race, figuring out and competing and trying to be in that top 5% versus really focusing on learning. That are we able to learn and grow and maybe thrive together? And finally, there's like, as a result of this exam focus, there is very, very little focus on the joy of learning. That just curiosity and the joy that that can lead to is lost because we're too busy in writing exams. Yeah. Apologies for being provocative, but I think it's important for us to think about, hey, how do schools learn? How do systems learn? How does our education system take accountability of what is it that we are enabling so that we can go on and learn that, oh, if that's not what's happening, then how do we switch? How do we change? And how do we get better? Which is exactly what artificial intelligence does. And as a past and maybe a somewhat current techie, I can tell you that systems that don't learn get obsolete. So a system that's not keeping pace with today's world, with the changes that are happening around us, is very, very hard for it to stay relevant. And hence, our kids find relevance in other things. Our kids find it a lot more useful and a lot more addictive to be on devices, to be elsewhere, to be on the playground, versus engaging in opportunities of learning that we might be creating. This, I think, as a result of not knowing what is really working, we end up having a large number of students and parents pursue education for the sake of it, brands for their names, instead of really looking at, hey, where is learning happening? Where is growth happening? And I wish there were ways in which we could identify those or detect those. Finally, the last belief that we all share, that, oh, we can somehow become a developed country, an inclusive economy, without fixing public education, right? And like, I think in terms of inequality, amongst the larger countries, India is second only to Russia. Russia is kleptocratic. I don't want us to be compared with them. I would hope that we can actually be far, far more equal than Russia. And the path that we're on doesn't seem to suggest that we are creating a more equitable world. Here are some facts, but more than the facts, I feel it's the paths that set out during education, in our early years, of ranking kids, of selecting a few, of really, as in a system that is rejecting almost 95% of the people participating in it. I would prefer to provocatively call it a rejection system than a selection system. So in a rejection system, we are, by design, creating this inequity. And we all in education are a part of this. And like, we're in a country where there are possibly the largest number of students going to private schools and paying a fairly large fees for it. China, which is or used to be more populous than us, has been able to achieve a much higher growth with less than 5% of its kids going to private education systems. Most of the OECD countries, most of the developed nations have very, very well-functioning public education systems. If we have to fix and if we have to build an inclusive economy, we need to be holding our systems accountable, to be holding our public education systems accountable. And I feel like that is the alternative. That the alternative is to build a system where reform is possible, where change is possible. Finland was able to reform its education system in less than 20 years to go from a PISA ranking of about 50 to number 1 in just 20 years, right? And 20 years might feel like a long time, but I think to most people who are educationists, we know that in 20 years to be able to change what young people go through, what a country's demographic dividend could look like, is not much. And it's possible, it's been done before. It's for us to try and take as in make voice and make that choice so that we can push for this and we can make this happen. Education has to become like one of our largest priorities as a nation and a political choice. It's something that's important, without which it's going to be really, really hard for the most populous country to really, really be able to make its human capital count. We can continue to be the rejection economy, work on the basis of a few unicorns that succeed, and have economy be driven by that. And for the largest number of people in our country, wages stagnate and lives remain harsh. Or we can choose to invest in public education systems that solve for our young people. It requires us to overcome our biases, our beliefs, all of us as a society. This isn't just about a school, private or public. This isn't about students or parents. This isn't even about the government. It is about us as a society, and just a reminder of those 6 beliefs, right? That one, only a few can succeed. We can challenge that. More than a few can succeed. 2, academics is critically important to succeed in life. I think, yes, academics is important, but then there are life skills, there are entrepreneurial mindsets, and even if you don't do well in academics, there is a life. Right? Just clearing some exams is not necessarily going to mean that, hey, life will be set for you. Life is a continuous learning journey, and if our kids could learn that, hey, this is a journey and not a destination that your 12th grade will help clear for you, they'll probably be looking forward to life on a daily basis than looking forward like, oh, let me just somehow get through these exams and I'll be fine. For young people can be trusted a lot more. I'll share a little bit of an experiment that we did back in 2017. We enabled a few young people with just 10,000 rupees each, or 10,000 rupees to groups of about 6 to 8 kids, to go build their own idea over a 2-month period. And I think what we saw them do was mind-blowing. The amount of creativity, innovation, etc. that we saw, but more than that, the amount of engagement and hard work that parents saw in their kids blew parents and me away. And since then, it's become my life's mission. And over the last 8 years, and especially over the last 4 years, I am proud that 4 state governments have given about 7.5 lakh kids, or 750,000 kids, 2,000 rupees each, to go do something that they really, really want to. Build an entrepreneurial venture or an entrepreneurial project. And to see that change happen gives me hope, gives me belief that change is possible. That if I, a non-educationist, getting into education in a short period of time, have been able to seed some of these changes, I feel like if more and more of us believe in some of these, want to fix this, get behind this, this should be possible. And our young people can have a much, much better future than we are today headed for. Thank you.